Hey everyone, this is D&D Lounge with another episode of How to Use D&D Spells, a series where I cover spells from the 5th edition of Dungeons & Dragons. I look at some of the spell's most common uses, answer a few rules questions, and give my opinion on how good a spell is and who it's for. Today I'm talking about Sanctuary, a situational defensive spell that also robs you of your offensive capabilities. Here's the spell's description and the classes who can cast it. Sanctuary can be cast on an ally within 30 feet. If a creature attacks that ally or casts a spell targeting them, they have to succeed on a wisdom saving throw. If they don't, that same attack or spell has to be redirected to a new valid target, or the attack is lost. Sanctuary's protection only works when directly targeted. Area of effect spells can get around it. If a creature benefiting from Sanctuary performs any offensive action like making an attack or casting a spell that affects an enemy or damaging a creature, Sanctuary ends. Sanctuary lasts for up to 1 minute and has two pretty significant benefits. It only costs a bonus action to cast, and it doesn't require concentration to maintain. Right, so many new players wonder why Sanctuary is useful for more than one round of defensive benefits. Surely you are losing out on the action economy if you choose not to attack, right? Well, let's get into a few ways to make the most of Sanctuary. Tip number 1 is to attack before casting. If you want to use Sanctuary on yourself, take advantage of the bonus action casting time to cast it after you've attacked or cast an offensive cantrip. To take this further, you can even grapple an enemy before casting Sanctuary and then maintain your grapple on them after casting Sanctuary. You can even use dodge on these rounds to make it incredibly difficult for anyone to dislodge you from your divinely protected wrestling match. Another great use for Sanctuary is to protect NPCs. Sanctuary is the perfect spell for squishy, non-combative allies. Mounts, escort quests, and familiars all come to mind. Whenever you're protecting a creature that really has no reason to attack, Sanctuary is a great spell to use. A player favorite version of this is throwing Sanctuary on an owl familiar. With Flyby to avoid opportunity attacks and Sanctuary to protect from regular attacks, your owl buddy will have no trouble using the help action each round of combat. But your owl familiar is not alone in having more utility and actions available than just the attack, which brings me to tip number 3, which is to pair Sanctuary with the help action. Using the help action won't bring Sanctuary early, but it will give your ally advantage on their next attack. Speaking of extra utility, tip number 4 is to pair Sanctuary with the dodge action. Pairing Sanctuary with the dodge action can make you truly a movable object in combat. In fact, it's often the perfect move for blocking doors to prevent enemies from rushing your backline. Use number 5 of Sanctuary is to protect concentration. Spells like Spirit Guardians can continue dealing damage while you're protected by Sanctuary. Although Jeremy Crawford has said that it goes against the spirit of the spell's rules, so it's DM dependent. If your DM does allow for this combination to work, though, it's a potent one. Either way, even non-damaging concentration spells like Haste can benefit from the extra layer of protection that Sanctuary offers. Another good use of Sanctuary is to help your diplomacy role-playing. If you want to avoid being hit long enough to explain your situation or talk to an NPC who's rather keen on smashing your face, Sanctuary can buy you some time and help show that you'd rather not fight. And to wrap things up, you can also use Sanctuary to eat up baddies' opportunity attacks. This one's a little niche and a little risky, but if you cast Sanctuary before running through a horde of monsters, nice low wisdom ones are perfect, like zombies, you can trigger a whole bunch of opportunity attacks that have a low odds of landing. Why would you want to do that? Well, now that you've eaten up all their reactions, your party can now safely follow the same path that you took without having to worry about getting hit by any opportunity attacks. Those are just a few of the uses that Sanctuary has. Each situation is a bit niche, but the things Sanctuary does, it does well. Still, it's a misunderstood spell, so let's try to clear that up a bit by answering some common rules questions. Rule number 1 is that a continuous damaging spell doesn't break Sanctuary, as long as you cast it before benefiting from Sanctuary. Lead game developer Jeremy Crawford has confirmed that that's the rules as written version of things, but states that the rules as intended is that any damaging activity breaks a spell. So ultimately, it's up to your DM, really. Rule number 2 is that grappling and shoving break Sanctuary, since both of these are still considered attacks. Rule number 3 is that you can affect multiple targets with Sanctuary. It's not a concentration spell, and the spell description doesn't indicate otherwise, so there's no reason you can't cast it on multiple targets. Your only limitation is 1 target per round of combat, since you can't have more than 1 bonus action per turn. Rule number 4 is that opportunity attacks can't be redirected. If an enemy fails their wisdom saving throw to attack you on an opportunity attack, they can't redirect it at an ally within melee range. That ally isn't a valid target for an opportunity attack because they haven't moved out of the range of the creature. The opportunity attack and the reaction are wasted for that round of combat. And rule number 5 is that the attacker can't move before choosing a new target. So if a melee enemy attacks you and fails their wisdom saving throw, they can't then decide to move 30 feet to attack your buddy. If no valid target is in range at the moment when they fail their save, then they lose that attack. They can still move, though. Those are just a few of the common rules questions that come up around Sanctuary. Let me know if you have any other questions about the spell's rules in the comments below. Now that we know how Sanctuary works and how to use it, let's turn to the important questions. Is it a good spell, and is it worth preparing? My answer is yes, Sanctuary is a good spell. It's a first level, no concentration, bonus action spell that offers a phenomenal short-term defensive bonus. It also provides great utility if you can reliably work in one of those uses I outlined earlier. That said, the biggest complaint people have about Sanctuary is that it's too situational. But this weakness hardly seems important to me. Sanctuary is available to clerics, paladins, and artificers, all of whom prepare spells daily rather than being locked into a limited number of known spells. So prepare Sanctuary when the situation calls for it, and leave it off your spell list for adventuring days when it's unlikely to come in handy. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you found this guide on Sanctuary helpful. If you have any stories about using Sanctuary in your own Dungeons & Dragons game, please share them in the comments below. This is D&D Lounge wishing you the best of luck in your next spellcasting venture.